Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to Oct-Nov Winter 2023 Paper 2 Variant 1 Combined Science. I will be doing biology. Mr. Gamal will be doing chemistry. Mr. Musa will be doing physics. For every question we go for trial error or cancellation of wrong options or eye-catching point. You can pause the video and go back for our previous videos for more clarification of the techniques we use for each question. We start with bio question number 1. For this diagram, I just elaborated the diagram by writing some extra points such as water plus carbon dioxide into the plant leaf, so glucose oxygen will be released. Name the process is photosynthesis. Mister, there is no photosynthesis here. And there is another word for plant named as nutrition. Nutrition for plant is photosynthesis. Why? How do you know, mister? Because plants can make their own food. Plants are autotrophic. They make their own food by photosynthesis. So they can feed themselves. They can make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Why not movement? Because movement is movement of the entire structure, entire organism, or even part of it, which is not shown here. Why not excretion? Excretion is to release, not to accept carbon dioxide. Why not reproduction? Because the reproduction to make more of the same organism, which is not shown on the drawing. So option B is correct. Whenever you have any drawing like this for biology, you have to label the structure. This one is a root hair cell. This one is ciliated cell. D is sperm or male gamete. And C is RBC, red blood cell. So which cell shows the correct function? Trial error. A, root hair cell involved in reproduction. Wrong, involved in absorption. B, to move mucus in the trachea. Let me think about it. C, in phagocytosis. Phagocytosis is conducted by white blood cells named as phagocytes. What about C function? To transport oxygen. So out. D is sperm or male gamete to absorb water from the soil. This is wrong. Function of D is reproduction. So B is correct. Don't forget that mucus is made by goblet cell, then removed by cilia. Diffusion. For definition of diffusion or osmosis even, you must use the vocab net movement. So total movement is rejected. So cancel out wrong options. A or B. Net movement. Then you have down the gradient or up the gradient. High, low, high, low. If you move in this direction, you are down or with the gradient, which is either diffusion or osmosis in IGCSE. What about from low to high? This one is active transport. So net movement accepted of molecules down the concentration gradient accepted, up the gradient is rejected. So option E. Question number 4. Independent variable x-axis is pH. By the way, these experiments are conducted in a separate test tubes, not in the same test tube. Take care. And we conduct the experiment at pH, for example, 2. And we conducted one experiment at pH number 4. And pH number 6 and so on. pH number 8 and pH number 10, for example. Okay? So this is the independent variable. Separate test tubes, not same test tube. And don't forget technique of DOD, D-O-D. D nature, optimum, D nature. Yani extreme pH values cause the nature of the enzyme. Extra points such as water plus carbon dioxide into the plant leaf, so glucose oxygen will be released. Name the process is photosynthesis. Mister, there is no photosynthesis here. And there is another word for plant named as nutrition. Nutrition for plant is photosynthesis. Why? How do you know, mister? Because plants can make their own food. Plants are autotrophic. They make their own food by photosynthesis. So they can feed themselves. They can make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Why not movement? Because movement is movement of the entire structure, entire organism, or even part of it, which is not shown here. Why not excretion? Excretion is to release, not to accept carbon dioxide. Why not reproduction? Because reproduction to make more of the same organism, which is not shown on the drawing. So option B is correct. Whenever you have any drawing like this for biology, you have to label the structure. This one is a root hair cell. This one is ciliated cell. D is sperm or male gamete. And C is RBC, red blood cell. So which cell shows the correct function? Trial error. A, root hair cell involved in reproduction. Wrong, involved in absorption. B, to move mucus in the trachea. Let me think about it. C, in phagocytosis. Phagocytosis is conducted by white blood cells named as phagocytes. What about C function? To transport oxygen. So out. D, sperm or male gamete to absorb water from the soil. This is wrong. Function of D is reproduction. So B is correct. Don't forget that mucus is made by goblet cell, then removed by cilia. Diffusion. For definition of diffusion or osmosis even, you must use the vocab net movement. So total movement is rejected. So cancel out wrong options. A or B. Net movement. Then you have down the gradient or up the gradient. High, low, high, low. If you move in this direction, you are down or with the gradient, which is either diffusion or osmosis in IGCSE. What about from low to high? This one is active transfer. So net movement accepted of molecules down the concentration gradient accepted, up the gradient is rejected. So option E. Question number 4. Independent variable x-axis is pH. By the way, these experiments are conducted in a separate test tubes, not in the same test tube. Take care. And we conduct the experiment at pH, for example, 2. And we conducted one experiment at pH number 4. And pH number 6 and so on. pH number 8 and pH number 10, for example. Okay? So this is the independent variable. Separate test tubes, not same test tube. And don't forget technique of DOD, D-O-D. D nature, optimum, D nature. يعني extreme pH values cause the nature of the enzyme. Extreme pH value or pH values cause the nature of the enzyme. So apparently option A to be accepted, option B to be correct if you replace rate of reaction here by time taken for the reaction to complete. C is wrong. This one for limiting factor idea, which is rejected because we do have DOD. It doesn't show DOD. It doesn't show DOD. So wrong. This one shows DOD, by the way, but reciprocal. This one also has DOD, don't forget. So both of them could be accepted. Like, take care of y-axis. If y-axis is rate of reaction, you go for a typical DOD. If y-axis is reciprocal time, so slip or go for reciprocal, the graph to be DOD like an inverted shape or reciprocal one. So here B is rejected and A is accepted. Question number 5. What is correct definition of a balanced diet? Don't forget we have 7 dietary components: protein, fat, carbs, mineral ions or minerals, vitamins, water, and fiber. To receive a balanced diet, I should take all of them in correct proportion. So contains only rejected, mostly protein, dietary fiber. What about the rest? Rejected. Only carbohydrates rejected. So eye catching point A. Take care of the arrow. If the arrow has enzyme, arrow 3 has enzyme, so arrow 3 لازم chemical digestion. Eye catching point. So let me think about it. 1, no enzyme, so mechanical digestion. So A, B are out. What makes D wrong? By the end of chemical digestion, particles to be soluble. Okay, so chemical digestion makes small soluble. CSS technique. Chemical converts larger into smaller and soluble into soluble. Don't forget. CSS. So option C is correct. X is bicuspid or mitral A level in IGCSE is left atrioventricular valve on the left hand side, and this side is right hand side. What causes valve to close? When the pressure here in the ventricles is higher than pressure here inside atria. We are precisely on the left hand side. We are precisely on the left hand side. So when the pressure of the left ventricle is higher than pressure in the left atrium due to contraction. So relaxation here can't help, and we need contraction of the left ventricle. Why B is wrong? Because contraction of the left atrium causes this valve to open, not to close. So option A. Option 8. Which chemical is used to test for carbon dioxide in expired air? Benedict testing for reducing sugar. Distilled water is not testing for anything in bio. Is a reagent in some chemical reactions but not testing material. Iodine solution testing for starch. Lime water testing for carbon dioxide to change from clear to cloudy. So D. Aerobic respiration, air means O2. So I need O2 plus glucose C6H12O6 to give carbon dioxide plus water. Close your eye. 1, 6, 6, and 6. So for every glucose, we release 6 carbon dioxides. But we don't have one glucose. We have 6 molecules of glucose. So cross multiply for carbon dioxide. Don't forget this is carbon dioxide and this one is glucose. So 36. Cross multiplication, easy math. Question 10. Oxen technique MDUE. Oxen is M. M is made in the shoot tip. Number 2. D. Diffuses evenly. Diffuses evenly firstly. U. Unequally distributed. E. It causes elongation growth. So again, statements about oxen. Oxen is always equally distributed initially only. So wrong. Oxen is made in the carpel only. Mistake. Oxen is made in the shoot tip. Oxen spreads through the plant from the sibyl. Wrong. From the shoot tip. So D is correct. Which row is correct for sexual reproduction? Don't forget, due to sexual reproduction, there is variation, differences. So لازم differences. So C is out. D also out. We accept A or B. One parent is needed? No, we need two parents. Why? Because we need male gamete and female gamete. So one parent only is wrong. Zygote is produced. Zygote is a diploid egg cell. Fertilized diploid egg cell. So zygote is a diploid fertilized egg cell. So B is correct. Question 12. I think the second last question in bio. Scent nectar. Nectar is a sugar material, has a good scent, and produced by nectary. So don't forget, nectar is a sugar and nectary is a gland to produce nectar. So nectary gland to produce nectar, which is sugar and has a good scent. So for when pollinated, there is no nectary, rare. So there is no scent, there is no nectar, since no nectary. Petals are small or even absent. Let me think about it. Stigma is inside. For when pollination, stigma is hanging outside. So wrong. So option C. Last question for bio. Photosynthesis. We did this question firstly to green plant. So carbon dioxide. So why to be carbon dioxide? Type why not water mixture? Because this is carbon cycle, not water cycle. Animal to change into X, then due to combustion again to release carbon dioxide. So X is a fuel. Combustion, X is a fuel. So option A. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Gamal. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad, for solving the biology questions. So for now on, we will continue with chemistry part. So we stopped at question 14, which substance is liquid at 25. To solve this question, we state of matter. Here we have liquid. So to be liquid must be temperature is less than boiling point and more than the melting point. So our temperature is 25. So we need to choose one temperature above 25 and another one below 25. So let's do trial and error. Check first one. Negative 182 is fine, but this one is not more than 25. Here also negative is not more than 25. So we have two options for more than 25. Check. Negative 100 less than 25. 80 more than 25. So the correct answer is B. And if you go check D, just to confirm why it's wrong, you're gonna find 44, which is more than 25, so it doesn't work. Question 15. A solid is added to a liquid and stirred until the solid is no longer visible. Which word describes the type of mixture that is formed? So directly when we add solid to a liquid mixed together, the solid is called solute, while liquid is called solvent, and the mixture is called solution. Question 16. Which dot and cross diagram represent the nitrogen molecules? Nitrogen molecule is N2, so we need to do the configuration for nitrogen. So 2, 5, because the atomic number or the proton number is 7. So the outermost level is 5, it needs 3 more to be octet. So it will share by 3 electrons. We have 5, if you share 3, we have a lone pair. Check your options for the lone pair first. C doesn't have any lone pair. D has 3 lone pair. B has 2 lone pair. So the only one that has a lone pair is A. This is called eye-catching. And I can confirm my answer later on. I have to share 3 electron. Here you are. So the correct answer is A. Let's go for question 17. Iron 3 sulfate contains iron 3 ions and sulfate 2 negative ions. What is the formula for that compound? So as usual, to write the formula, what we do, we put the charges and we swap the charges. This is an easier way to do it. So Fe will take the 2 from sulfate and SO4 will take the 3 from the iron. So SO4 by 3. Search for this one. The option is C. During electrolysis, positive ions are changed. So quick review for electrolysis. Positive ions are called cations. I will talk only about the positive ions, and negative ions do the opposite. So cations are positive ions, so they go for the negative electrode, which is called cathode. So they will be changed at the cathode. So search for electrode. You have anode, cross them out. So I have to check P and D. What they do when they go to the cathode? They are positive ions, they gain their electrons back to be discharged. So for example, if you check a metal M+, it gains the electron back to be a normal metal at solid state. Discharge it or change it. So we will choose gain electron. So the correct answer is B, because here he said lose electron. Let's go for question 19. Dilute hydrochloric acid added to calcium carbonate, they react together and they made a gas. The rate of the reaction changes if the concentration of the hydrochloric acid and the temperature is changed. So what change that affects the activation energy and the frequency of collisions between the reacting particle is correct. So in this case, once we ask which one is correct, we do trial and error. So check first one. When we increase concentration, what happens for activation energy? Doesn't change. Why? Because the only thing that affect activation energy is a catalyst. And here we have no catalyst, we just changed concentration. So activation energy won't be changed by concentration. So of course A is wrong answer. Check B, increasing concentration, no effect, that's fine. But when you increase concentration, what happened? More particles, more collisions, higher rate of reaction. So the frequency of collisions will be higher, not no effect. So also B is wrong. Check C, when we increase temperature, activation energy decreases. Be careful, no. When we increase the temperature, what happens? The energy for the particles increases. TKC, temperature increases, kinetic energy increases, collisions increases, and also the rate of reaction increases. But the activation energy is not changed. So C also is wrong. So by elimination, the only option is D. Let's confirm. Increasing temperature will have no effect, and it will increase the collisions, as we said, TKC. Easy question. The equation for the redox reaction, once you see a redox reaction containing oxygen, make sure this is an easy one. So you can see here iron has oxygen and here has no oxygen. The O removed. So what happened for it? It lost oxygen. Losing oxygen is reduction. So for iron oxide is reduced. So substance reduced, he asked what substance is reduced. I will choose iron oxide. So since this one is reduced, if you remember, always the agent is opposite to the process. So the substance is reduced is called as oxidizing agent. So I will pick also iron oxide as oxidizing agent. So the only option I have here is C. Let's go for question 21. Calcium oxide is added to water containing universal indicator. Keep it in your mind. The universal indicator turns blue. Why it turns blue? Because calcium oxide is metal oxides, and the metal oxides are basic. When they dissolve, they become alkali, and of course they will change the universal indicator blue. And alkali has a pH higher than 7. So by eye catching directly, the only option higher than 7 is 11. Now is question 22. Acid X reacts with metal Y. So once you see acid and metal and he said reacts, that means the metal will displace the hydrogen in the acid. So we'll have salt and hydrogen gas. So a colorless gas is given out, which is hydrogen, and the pale green solution, which is the salt. We did 2 tests carried out on the solution. You know, in paper 6 when we do find the cation and anion for the salt, that's the tests we are doing. So test 1, we add the reagent, which is aqueous silver nitrate and acidify it with nitric acid. So silver nitrate, directly we are testing for the halide anion. If you remember, for aqueous silver nitrate, if you have chloride ion, you will have white precipitate. If you have bromide ion, you will have creamy precipitate. If you have iodide, you will have yellow precipitate. So just a reminder of the halide ions. So here you have white, so that means we have chloride ion. Of course, the chloride ion came from the acid, so we know that we're having an acid called hydrochloric acid. So check the choices. What are acid X and metal Y? Acid X will be hydrochloric acid. So A and B is accepted, while C and D are cancelled out. Let's go for test 2. We do sodium hydroxide, of course, for testing the cation. So what we got? A green precipitate. If we remember what gives green in the cation, we have only two options, which is chromium and iron 2. These two only gives green precipitate. So check the choices you have, A and B, zinc and iron. So zinc is excluded, so I will go for iron. Question 23. Fluorine is at the top of group 7 in the periodic table. It reacts with potassium iodide as shown. So fluorine plus potassium iodide will give iodine plus substance Z. You know what happens? Fluorine is more active than iodine, so it will displace it. So you got iodine, and the substance must be potassium fluoride because fluorine displaces iodine. So potassium fluoride, be careful here. Potassium fluorine is excluded because fluorine, when it becomes in a compound, it becomes an ion, so we call it fluoride. So the only option is C. Question 24. Which statement about metals and their compounds are correct? Question choice 1. Copper react with dilute hydrochloric acid to give hydrogen. Copper reacts. Copper is one of the inactive metals, so excluded. We're doing trial and error. Carbon does not react with aluminum oxide. Let's think about this one. Hydrogen is formed when steam is passed over heated zinc. When steam reacts with zinc, it do displacement reaction. So this one is true. And when it do displacement reaction, it releases the hydrogen in water. Question 4, choice 4, iron is more reactive than magnesium. That's completely wrong because you know magnesium is group 2, which is one of the active metal, while iron is transition metal. So 2 and 3, we may think about them. 1 and 4 is completely wrong, so cross out the wrong answers. You have only one option is available, which is 2 and 3. You remember, copper doesn't react with aluminum oxide. Different reaction occur in the blast furnace, which substance are products in some reactions and reactant in another reaction in the blast furnace. So here we need substance can be found in the product and at the same time can be found at the reactants. That happens inside the blast furnace when we extract iron from its ore. So let's check the choices and remember the reactions together. Carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. We start with carbon, we burn it, you get carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is in the product. Okay, we take carbon dioxide and do another reaction with carbon to get carbon monoxide, right? So carbon dioxide is reactant and product. So for carbon dioxide, it's fine. Carbon monoxide, which come out here, we use it in the reduction of iron oxide. So also carbon monoxide is okay. So option A is fine. Let's check question B, choice B. Carbon dioxide, okay, this one is fine. And carbon. Carbon only found in reactant, not in product. So we're gonna exclude B. And also you can see carbon here in B, so we'll exclude also D. Carbon monoxide, okay, this one is fine, but iron, that's what we need from the extraction. So you're gonna find it only in product. So the only option we have is A, according to these equations. Which gases can directly cause an enhanced greenhouse effect? Directly greenhouse gases is carbon dioxide and methane. These two are in our syllabus. So search for them. Carbon dioxide and methane, option B. Carbon monoxide, pollutant. Nitrogen dioxide, pollutant. Sulfur dioxide, pollutant. Sulfur dioxide, pollutant. And they can cause acidic rain, not greenhouse effect. Which statement about alkanes is correct? You remember alkanes, all are single bonded, saturated, unreactive, all of this stuff about alkanes, the formula CnH2n+2. Keep all of that in your mind and let's read the choices. Their molecules are unsaturated. No, all single bonded, so it's saturated. They are generally reactive. No, unreactive. There are a mixture of carbon and the hydrogen atoms only. Okay, this one is true. Let's think about it. They produce water when they burn. This one also true. So which one is only for alkanes? When you burn many compounds, they can produce water. But as a hydrocarbon, as alkane, it's mainly made up of carbon and hydrogen. So better to choose C. Because this is something exclusive for alkanes and alkenes and all of that. So now we are done with the chemistry part. Inshallah, Mr. Musa will continue with the physics part. Thank you, Mr. Musa.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to IGNOVA. We're gonna continue physics part. Thanks Mr. Migid and Mr. Gamal for explaining biology and chemistry parts. Now time for physics. First question, question 28. Which speed time graph represent motion for which the acceleration is constant, but not zero? Acceleration is constant, that means, let's remember the rule. A equal delta V over delta T. That means the change of velocity is fixed while time passes. But the change is fixed. That means speed must change. For graph A, here speed at a constant value, not increasing or decreasing, that means speed change is zero. So A cannot be. For option B, that not straight, and also C not straight, and he said at a constant. So at a constant means a straight line graph must be. So the right option is D. Question 29. A glass block has a mass of 30 grams and volume of 15 centimeter cube. What is the density? For density, it's a mass over volume. So mass is 30, volume is 15. It must be 2 gram per centimeter cube, which is option B. Question 30. Spring that obeys Hooke's law is stretched by a force of 4 Newton. I prefer to get the given first. This is the force. The length of spring changes from 10 to 12. For that, delta x, the expanding amount, is 12 minus 10, which is 2 centimeter. What is spring constant of the spring? The spring constant, which is k equal F over delta x. 4 over 2 gonna be 2. So it's 2 Newton per centimeter. Question 31. A car has a kinetic energy of 200 kilojoule. A car here has a 200 kilojoule as a kinetic energy. As it passes point P, here is a point P, on a straight horizontal road. A constant resultant force, 500 Newton, then causes the car to accelerate. We have here force applied equal 500 Newton. And what is the kinetic energy of the car when it has traveled the distance 50 meters past P? After P, there is a distance 50 meters, applying this force. For that, you need here the total amount of energy for the car. For that, I can find here, you have already the first kinetic energies, first in before P, and after P, we have work F times D. F is 500, D equal 50, so it's 25,000, 25,000. This is the second kinetic energy gained. Then you're gonna add KE1, kinetic energy before P, plus kinetic energy after P. 200 kilojoule. So don't forget this kilo. It's 000. And by addition, it will be 225,000 joule. Easy. Question 32. A man lifts a heavy load vertically from the ground to above his head. He moves this load above his head. He then moves the load horizontally at a constant speed. During which motion is the work done on the load and why? In which motion the load is done, it must be from down to top. So it must be when lifting, not with moving horizontal. Because in moving horizontal, the force acting here by this player himself, not by the load. So when lifting. The reason is that because the force exerted on the load is at right angles to the direction of the movement of the load, surely no. The force exerted on the load in the same direction as the movement of the load to upward, so the right answer is B. Question 33. Which statement about tidal energy power station is correct? For a tidal power station, it creates no environmental impact. When being built, nothing has no environmental impact. Any human act has environmental impact, so cannot be A. It doesn't work at night. No, it doesn't work at night. It's solar, not tidal. It doesn't work when there is no wind. It's not a wind station. It supplies energy at predictable times. Yeah, because it's a measurable timing for the motion, the rotation of the moon itself. It's calculated already. It's astrology. So D is the correct option. Question 34. The molecules in a substance are close together, but free to change positions with each other, which a substance at 20 degrees Celsius matches this description. The matter can change position normally at 20 degrees. It's surely not copper or iron, also not air, it's only water, which is a liquid state. Question 35. A sound wave passes from one medium into a second medium. What happens to the sound wave entering the second medium and why does they happen? This happens because of changing the medium. So by changing the medium, what's happening? Reflected, surely no, it's a refraction happen here. By refraction happen, is it the frequency change or the speed changes? Surely the speed. Why? Because frequency, it depends only on the source itself. Don't forget that frequency doesn't change. The only changing between speed and wavelengths. Clear? Let's continue. Question 36. An earthquake wave shakes the ground at right angles to the direction of travel the wave. This wave has a frequency of 0.10. So this is the frequency and wavelength of 30,000 meters. Okay. Which row shows the type of the wave this is and its speed. C. For the type of the wave, for earthquake, if it's vertical, it will be longitudinal. But if it's make a right angle, so it's a transverse wave, not longitudinal in this case. And for speed, we know that speed is lambda times f, wavelength times the frequency. So wavelength is 30,000, frequency 0.10, the answer must be 3,000 meters per second, which is option C. Question 37. The diagram shows two light rays from an object that passes through a thin converging lens. Each point labeled F is the principal focus of the lens. Here, this lens object here located in a place that less than focal length. The image formed in this case, they cannot meet there. There is a diverging here. The only possible meeting point for these rays is on the same side virtual energy. It's a right way up and larger than an object, yeah. Option A. We solve it out like that. Question 38. The amplitude of the sound wave decreases and its frequency increases. What happens to the sound heard? If the amplitude decreases, this is the normal amplitude. Sorry. If the amplitude decreases, that makes that responsible for loudness. So it becomes louder, cannot be, it becomes quieter. And when you decrease the frequency, for frequency, if you have here one wave, frequency is increasing the number of waves per each second. It's responsible for how much high the wave. So it will be higher. I'm gonna go for C. Easy, easy. Question 39. There is a current 6 amperes in a wire. How much charges flow through the wire in 2 minutes? Amount of charges Q. If you remember, the main rule says I equal Q over T. So Q will be I times T. I is 6, T is 2 minutes. These 2 minutes must be 2 times 60 to convert it into second. So 2 times 60. It will be 720 coulomb. Let's check. 6 times 2 times 60. It will be 720. Easy. Question 40. A circuit contains 3 ammeters, P, Q, and R, and 3 identical lamps. These are 3. How do the reading on the ammeter compares? We know that the current passes here. It starts to branch it into halves because they have the same type of lamp. For that, if this is the I1 passing this first lamp, and here is I2 and I3, we're gonna see that I1 equal to I2 plus I3. All 3 ammeter show the same reading? Surely no. The first ammeter here at P, it will read the summation of Q and R more than them. The reading of B is greater than reading of Q and greater than reading of R. Yeah, there is the correct option. By now, we are done with this paper. See you next time with more past papers for IGCSE and A level. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.